Hi everyone! Today we're going to show you a little video on food prep using 3 recipes. We've got a chili lime pork tenderloin, honey garlic chicken thighs, and chicken tikka masala. Now the reason I chose these is because you can buy pork in bulk when it's on sale. Also with the chicken thighs, we bought 2 big packs at Costco and we separated all of our meats into these bags in their servings for each recipe ahead of time. So that's the first thing I always do. Sometimes I just do that on one day and separate all the meats, put them in their freezer bags, and then keep them in the fridge. The following day, I chop up all the ingredients. So here you see we've got the liquid ingredients for the chili lime pork tenderloin. We've also got the lime juice, the grated lime zest, some of the garlic, the red pepper flakes. So everything's kind of separated. So what I like to do when I'm making these is I get a large bowl or like this measuring cup and I open my bag like so, just so that way I know when I'm pouring things in that it's gonna stay standing and it's not slopping all over the counter. So for this one, because I love this recipe and I like to reserve a bit of the marinade to use, just boil it down and pour it over the tenderloin medallions, I like to mix it first in a smaller dish, and then once I do that, I'm going to reserve a cup of it. So I lined these just coffee mugs with a simple sandwich baggy freezer bag, and it's going to go with this bag in the fridge or the freezer if you're freezing these. So first I'm going to put the liquid there, and I'm going to add in all the ginger and the lime. And it's handy if you pre-measure things out because then you know. So I just give it a little stir with the fork. And I know I want to reserve just a bit. So I'm going to check on my measuring cup. I don't know. Let's see. I'm going to do about half a cup that I'm going to reserve and pour in this bag, and then I'm going to pour the rest over top of the medallions in the freezer bag like so. And I'm going to get all the air out, so I'm just going to move this to the side. Get all the air out of the freezer bag. And then I usually just like to massage the ingredients into the meat. And then you see there, it's in the sauce. When you place this in the freezer, place it as flat as you possibly can and let it freeze that way. So then when they're all done and they're frozen, you can stand them up and they'll be a lot slimmer and it'll take up less room in your freezer. Then what you're gonna do is here's our little marinade, and you don't have to reserve some of the marinade, you can keep it in there. I just like to keep it separate if I want to pour some over the top, and you can just heat this up after you cook them down. And then put these two together, just flat like this, in another freezer bag and put that into the freezer. When you're ready to cook these, you're going to take them out of the freezer in the morning, leave them in the fridge during the day to defrost and thaw. And then at night, it's ready for you to come home, pop it out of the marinade. You can grill it on the barbecue. You can cook it on the stovetop, whatever works for you. So that's one done. Now I'm going to do the second one. And I think with this one, I'm not going to reserve any liquid, just so you can see. There's a fair bit of marinade there. So I'm just going to mix it in this one. And food prep doesn't have to be like complicated, and for you guys, like, you're not going to have to do all these separate dishes and make a big mess. You can combine all the ingredients just in the freezer bag, even if you want. I just find this handy because if I'm doing great big batches, then I know exactly what I've added to the recipe. That. And this is a perfect summer barbecue recipe. I know we suggested sides of broccoli or Brussels sprouts. I really like those myself. You could roast the broccoli in the oven. or you could do a nice summer salad with this one. So there you can see it's all in there. And then I'm gonna freeze that flat. If you want, you can mark them on your freezer bag, and then they're ready to go. So these I'll set aside. They'll get popped in the freezer for next week. And next we're gonna make the honey garlic chicken thighs. These are also very yummy. So I'm gonna show you here. My chickens here. So like I said, we got these master packs of chicken thighs at Costco, or if you have Sam's Club or any sort of warehouse where you can go and buy bulk. It's a great way to do it, and then you can do these recipes on the same day, and it saves you a lot of time and energy, especially with summer coming up. If you have busy family schedules, if you have a busy work schedule and you work nights, these are recipes that you can pop in the crock pot even with the pork chili lime pork tenderloin. You can pop that in the crock pot and let it cook and come home and it's done. And you don't have the heat of the oven or the stovetop. You can barbecue them even. They're done in a couple of minutes. So here we go with the chicken thighs. Now there's no honey technically in this recipe, but we do add swerve and a bit of sugar-free ketchup just to give it that punch of sweetness. So in here, I've got all of my liquids and my basil. I've got my garlic, ketchup, soy sauce. So this is all gonna go. Pour it in. And I just like doing it this way. I just find it's a lot easier to put into freezer bags and freeze them flat. And especially for us, we have a very busy summer ahead of us. So I know ahead of time we'll be tempted to like order out. We might not make the best choices. So if this is something I can take out, you know, even the day before, I can take 2 meals out. So I have one thawed and ready to go that day. And then I have the following days de-thawing in the fridge. So just give it a good shake. Massage it into the meat. And there's a meal. It doesn't look like much in the bag, but you're gonna freeze it flat, just like this. And then, like I said, you can stand it up later. And really, these don't take that long to make. I would say the chili lime pork tenderloin is probably the most labor intensive because of the grated ginger. It takes a little bit to grate it, but I think you could buy pre-grated ginger. If you wanna save time, buy like crushed garlic so you don't have to crush the cloves, anything that's going to save you some time. And if you have recipes that are favorites and they have a certain spice mix, make your spice mix ahead of time, like the keto taco seasoning we have in the group. You can throw that together and put them in little baggies and keep them in your spice drawer so that when you want to make, you know, the chili or the tacos or whatever with it, you have it ready and you're not like thinking, oh, I've got to do all this stuff. So it's really simple, quick, fast and easy way. It's killing me not to use a spatula to get all this good stuff out. But for the sake of time. So there. So far we've got 4 meals put together in a couple of minutes. And really it only took a couple of minutes to prepare the ingredients to put these together. So again, just shake it up. You're gonna get all the air out of that freezer bag and then lay them flat. So they're gonna freeze nice, flat, even, and then you can stand them up. They'll also thaw faster. Because if you throw this in like this, it's gonna be a solid chunk of frozen chicken and sauce. If you have it flat, that's going to save a ton of time when you go to thaw it. You can throw it in the sink even if you're pressed for time and you need to thaw things fast. Put on some warm water, you know, let it come to room temperature and then you'll be ready to cook it. Now for these, you can just throw these right in the crock pot, have them on low all day, and when you get home, you're all set. So the next one we have is our chicken tikka masala. Now traditionally with this dish, we have it as a step-by-step, but I think we can convert this to a crock pot recipe that makes it simple and easy without having to go through all the different steps. So let's put one here. And And again, just folding the bag over and trying not to touch any of the chicken and cross-contaminate anything. I'm gonna get my other stuff out of the way. A little bit noisy. Bring over my pre-measured ingredients. We've got coconut milk, we've got our crushed tomatoes. Now with our tomatoes, Dan always drains the liquid off. So we open the can, drain excess liquid. It cuts the carbs a little bit and just makes it so it's not this big soupy mess. And then we have our coconut milk right there. I've got our spices are all in here. And ginger and garlic, yummy. All right, I'm gonna grab a fork just to mix this up. And Dan's gonna get me some chicken broth for this one. So I'm just gonna double check. Yep, we got everything here. So I'm just mixing the spices in together. And I'm gonna add these first. Some people, I don't know. I think some people might wanna coat them, but I'm just gonna add that in first to this one. We're gonna see how this works. Give them a little pre-coating. Thanks. It always makes me think of shake and bake. It's shake and bake, and I help. I'm a dork. Alright, so there you can see, it's kind of like, not a great way to do it, but I don't like touching raw chicken. It grosses me out. Okay. So then we're gonna add our chicken broth. It's half a cup. So I'm gonna reuse my handy. Right. So we've got half a cup of chicken broth. I'm gonna add this right in. And again, I'm adding everything just kind of lumpy bumpy because when you're gonna put this in the crock pot, it's all gonna end up together. So it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, you know, Food Network style. I'm showing you how I do it, and this is how it works best for me. So I'm adding that coconut, and I'm gonna add my tomatoes. Shake those out there. Every last drop. And as you can see, that makes a really large portion. So I'm gonna squeeze out any excess air. Almost said access. Silly. This still has some air in it, but I'm gonna use that. Shake it all up. Get the rest of the air out. And there you can see, it doesn't look like much now, but this is a super delicious meal. But that's all ready for you. So see when you lay it flat, see the difference from laying it flat to having it up? If you have it nice and flat, this is gonna be solid, nice. You can get these containers from the container store. Sometimes Marshall's has them for the freezer, and they're baskets that you can set freezer bags up in that are frozen like that. And it's really easy. So now I'm gonna set that one to the side. We'll do the next one. Ooh, it's sliding. Like that. Get my ingredients here. So I've got all the ingredients ready. I'm gonna do the spice mix first, like we did last time. Coat the chicken. And it doesn't have to be perfect because again, we're mixing all of the wet ingredients into this one. When you make this recipe traditionally, you're gonna coat the chicken and fry it in a pan and then add your ingredients. But if you're pressed for time, like we will be in the coming weeks, we just mix everything all together and put it in the crock pot. So now that I've got that spice rub on there, I'm gonna top it with the ginger mixture. Pour in my chicken broth, coconut milk, and crushed fresh tomatoes. This one is really heavy, so just be careful that it doesn't spill like I almost did. And you may want to double bag ones that are big like this for the freezer, just because like mine split a little bit here. It should be fine, but just to have an extra buffer, especially when it's thawing. I like to put them in a mixing bowl in the fridge when they're thawing, or a flat casserole pan, just in case it leaks, then you don't have a big mess all over your fridge. So again, there it is. Just give it a little mix, nothing crazy. And then I'm gonna lay this flat in the freezer, and in a minute I'm gonna show you what our freezer looks like with these meals done. So we've done 2, 4, 6 meals. I can use 3 of them next week. I'll probably save 3 for another week. Another way that you can food prep is when you're making, say for example, the chicken tikka masala. You can make an extra batch and throw it in the freezer and have it for dinner that night, so that you know you have something ready, all ready for next week. So every night that you're cooking, do a double batch and throw one in the freezer, and it's a really quick and easy way to food prep. Okay, so this is what they look like in the freezer. I've put them on near the coldest part of the freezer, so right where the air is venting out. They're laying nice and flat. They are stacked on each other, so it might take them a little bit more time, but they've been kept cold. Keep your meats cold in the fridge while you're prepping the rest of your ingredients, just because you always want to be safe with your foods, any raw meats. So I stack them like this. When these are frozen, I'm going to stand them up in a little container.